I'm Anita Rass. I'm the IBM product manager for Workload Automation and Workload Scheduler. So basically Marco's counterpart. I joined about a year ago, just over a year ago. So this is my first visit out here to London. I'm based in Canada. So, but I look forward to many more discussions with all of you and getting your feedback and talking to you about how to take advantage of the product, because that to me is really key. As we keep adding features, we want to make sure that they're useful to you. And so I think some of the discussion this afternoon in the use cases, we'll be going through various, I think I put 18 slides together on various pieces and talking through them. And like some will skip because you'll say you're not interested. Others will talk more about, just to understand what your requirements are and how you can use them effectively. But anyways, this session is about the support policies. So I'm just gonna recap just quickly where we were. IBM has a set of lifecycle support policies, so you'll see these are standard across all of our products. Any product will have one of these types of policies. So the first one was the enhanced policy, and this is what we were on up until 10.1. We call it a 5+3. So you get 5 years of service, and then after that you can buy extended service for 3 years. There was a standard one that was a 3+2. You'll see in some products. I don't think it was ever used on this product. And then we moved to a continuous delivery version of it. And what you'll see is I think a lot of products, whether they're IBM or not IBM, they tend to be on some kind of timing, I'll say, as this. And we call this the 2+1. So you get 2 years of support, and then you can buy 1 year of extended support. Now, let me emphasize, these are minimums, right? This is the minimum that you get. When you look at the product itself, if I go back in history, it always went beyond what it was planned to as part of our support life cycles. So I just wanted to talk about what the policies are. And then for this page, I just actually pulled this from the website, and I put the link at the bottom here. It takes you to an IBM website. You can actually query any product. So you just put in the search bar what product you're interested in, and it will tell you what the policies are. So I put in Workload Automation, Workload Scheduler should be exactly the same. And it lists them all, and it lists the end of support date here as well. So you can see 9.4 went out of support at the end of September, and we're looking at 9.5, 10.1, and 10.2, and it lists the policy type exactly here, so you know which one it's following. So you can see we were on the enhanced delivery version. Now we're on the continuous delivery version, and then the general availability. Now, I actually should have combined. There's two charts here. I'll go back to this one. So this one is a little bit same flavor as the previous one I showed, only it's kind of showing the end of service plant, because I think this is what has everyone worried. When we introduced the continuous delivery, because it was a 2+1. And so you can see that if we follow what the 5+3 for 9.5, that means that December 15th, we could end to support the product. Usually what we do before we end to support the product is there's a 1 year, we'll announce it, an end of service 1 year ahead of time for it. So just saying, we are not announcing anything in December of this year, so we're not going to be end up supporting it on the 5 years. But in transparency mode, we are looking at it and what to do. So I just want to give everyone a heads up that it's imminent, right? Just like all things, we have to keep moving. And so we are, we're looking at it. We're getting feedback from customers on it. And I think some of the discussions we had around the database changes is an interesting point that we need to think about. And how I think what we want to do is we want to make it easy to move. And from everyone I talk to, the testing seems to be the challenge, right? And so how can we better, work with you to make it easier and really define what the changes are, so that in any of the testing that you do, you can really focus on those areas, things like that. Like, I think that's where, collaboration with between us, I think hopefully we can figure out how to do this. So So if you look at 10.2 here, 2025 is the 2+1. Doesn't mean that that will be the date. This is the minimum, but that's what the continuous delivery means. The idea of the continuous delivery, though, is actually trying to make it easier to just deliver capability on a rhythm, right? And Marco was showing that, you know, there's 3 releases planned next year, right? So it's kind of trying to get to a drumbeat that you know that every 4 months there's going to be an update. You know, I think it's on us to make sure that it's very clear what we're changing, and make it, you know, to the point where you can choose to either take it or not, right? Depending on the changes that were made. So that's, I think it's the right model to go to. I think it's just a matter of making sure, you know, it's very adaptable for the teams. No, this is the distributed.
No continuous delivery for Z because we, in a way, already have continuous delivery to PTFs. So there's no need for a different model.
And is this, when we're talking about distributed agents and master architecture?
Mm-hmm. So it's all.
So we've only got 2 years. We can't even do an upgrade in 2 years.
And this is.
It's not possible.
2+1, so it's not.
It's 2+1, but let's go back to, this is the minimum, right? And so I think this is, you can look at it as we're like priming the pumps of moving us forward to a continuous delivery model. So I think this is where it comes back to, is how to make it much easier to adopt these versions, because otherwise you're not going to be taking advantage of the features, and it just, we need to make a win-win for both of us, right? And that's what we want
about the update of the agents more than the server, or
well, all of it, to be honest, is a huge concern for me, is that the change. I understand continuous delivery and the ethos behind it, and that's great. That's something that the bank certainly supports, and something that we're driving forward in terms of making our own support capability better, faster, cheaper, all that kind of good stuff. And it's where we want to get to. But the issue that we've got with the workload automation product is twofold. One, on the master, the amount of extensive testing that we have to do because there's such monolithic upgrades. Perhaps that's what you're going to be looking to improve, that these upgrades are more succinct and that we can roll them out quickly. We don't have to do great big database upgrades on the back of it as well. That for us requires investment funding. That requires all kinds of additional people involved, additional testing, new kit, new hardware, all that kind of stuff. It's a huge development cycle whenever we can do an upgrade of the product at the moment. The other side of it is the agents. We have so many of them. To upgrade them at the moment is a manual process. We're still trying to get through some of the 9.4 ones, and for application teams who are back level on their operation systems, we can't move forward for one reason or another. We're going to be running out of support incredibly quickly, and unless the agents continue to support back level operating systems as well. So I have got a lot of concern about that. But at the moment, perhaps you'll tell me wrong in a minute, but the product isn't designed for continual delivery in the way that we could do it with other applications that we support in the bank. And therefore, we're going to run out of runway on every single version that I can see. And
so
that's
normally, how many years you are staying on one single version?
Well, we've got some 9.3 agents out there at the moment. They've obviously gone well out of support now. Okay. We're still trying to get through the 9.4s, proving very difficult to move. And this is internal bank stuff. You know, there's some issues sometimes with the application code things, but these guys are great. They sort that out. But the often what we have there is that the application teams, they're not geared up to allow us to upgrade things quickly. We've got to stop their service in order to do our upgrades. We've got to give them an outage window, and some of the batch will be running 24 hours a day, and they can't easily just drop and give us a window of opportunity. And these things do take years.
And that's what I'm curious to understand about the upgrades. Like, especially on the application side, because I assume you have pre-production environments to drop things into and try them out, and like just trying to understand your processes. So how can we make sure that
we kind of need for the product itself to be very easily upgradable in order to say that it is continuous delivery, which I would definitely like us to get to. But you know, Jonathan's just upgrading on an afternoon. We've got a new version. There we go. We just dropped that in. We've tested it. We'll put it in next week, and it's almost a very straightforward task, which is how continuous delivery should be. At the moment, we're a million miles away from that with this product, as far as I'm concerned. And so to give the bank rather than 5 plus 2, I think it is 2 plus
5
1.
plus 3? Yeah.
Class.
Okay, first of all, especially with this first 10.2 release in continuous delivery, we may decide to stay longer than 2 plus 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the minimum. So we are doing this, and we plan to stay maybe a few more years on 10.2. So that this is something that we still need to, to decide how long we stay. 2 plus 1 is the standard IBM policy on continuous delivery. It's not necessarily our policy on this. Okay.
Yeah.
So we will evaluate also the impact for customers, how fast they are going to 10.2, and we need to realign with 10.1 that is going to be out of service in 2027. So it's we just started.
Yeah.
So but we certainly need a conversation with you to understand which are the main let's say difficulties when you upgrade, so that we know. For example, we have been talking about the database. I'm pretty sure that the development team is not changing the database for fun, but just when they need it for a feature. No, but we need to. I haven't spoken about that with the development team. We need to understand when it's really necessary and when it's not. Yeah. And maybe postpone a feature because we don't want for that release to have the upgrade to the database. So we need to discuss on that, and also to understand which are the other points that are particularly cumbersome for you now. Just set aside the discussion on quality, which is another topic and that is important. Yeah. That is something that should be addressed anyway. Yeah.
The middleware cycle is another example. So when we changed from WebSphere to WebSphere Liberty, that required a whole heap of work, didn't it?
Don't you need to upgrade the WebSphere on its own, or you use it only for us?
Liberty is on a continuous delivery cycle as well, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think
for us, it's the engagement of other teams as well.
Right, because of all the.
We don't just do everything ourselves. We can't just do the data.
Of course,
Yeah.
there's dependencies.
Teams, we got to fit into their cycles to make sure that they can do it, and that can take a long time as well.
So I would look at this as a journey, right? Like it's a journey that we're both on together, because like the last thing we want to do is pull the rug out. Yeah. So it's just
I can support the idea of continuous delivery. Just I prefer to see it in action before you declare that actually we're now only 2 years support. So that immediately to me says, well, I've got guarantee.
Okay, that's
yeah. But if you look at this, you can see that most of these are at least 6 years, right? Yeah. So. 10.2? Yeah, because it's in a continuous delivery. Yeah, so it's a 2 years.
So yes. That's the standard. It's not necessarily what we do.
But it's only going to be on D, not on Z.
The continuous delivery?
Yeah.
Currently it's on distributed only.
But don't we have an issue then where Z could be so far accepted D? Yeah, that's what we're starting to panic about.
Yeah.
About this.
So what? About what?
That we're moving distributed much faster, so that there will be on 10.9. And
we have deliveries at the same time. I mean, if it's not a new release on Z, you will have a PPM.
Right, so we distribute, for example, could be on 10.2, Z will be on 10.1.
Okay.
and that's not going to cause an issue. But if the distributor is going ahead faster than Z is catching up, we have quite a bit of a gap there.
But let's say that there is a new feature on the DWC that we need to support also there will be a PTF shift at the same time. So
Right, so
so the modification level, the continuous delivery, we do it on Z through PTFs.
yes, right.
We don't need to have a new release.
So we have bulk
Okay.
But you can keep in step by jumping versions. So
Yeah,
from
also.
10.1 to
You don't
10.
have to
10
install
three.
all the versions in continuous delivery. So let's say that we start with 10.2.0. Now we have in November 0.1. We will maybe arrive 0.9 or whatever, and you don't have to install all of them. You can skip and go, maybe upgrade once a year. But we need to understand what is missing.
What are you doing with Liberty though?
What are the main
Like-
steps? It's possible.
Yeah, because I would think it's kind of similar.
We have the same problem in a way, because all the components that we include or that we prereq, like WebSphere, like DB2, like all components included, have cycles very fast.
Yeah.
So we need to upgrade maybe to the prereq of WebSphere, because there are security patches that require that. So we need if we didn't have a new modification release, we would need to deliver a fix back. At that point, there is not much difference. But the database part is certainly a point to discuss. And I think in general, it must be possible at the end of this, onboarding process on continuous delivery, that you can upgrade at least once per year without, needing 1 year of testing. There must be a way to get to that point.
I would love it if we could.
Yeah. I think our worry is that we obviously tried going from Fixpack 3 to Fixpack 6 for 9.5 to try and get into this continuous delivery idea.
That's been a total disaster.
And yeah, it has really worried us already. And obviously, going to this new model, the code of the software needs to be improved dramatically for us to be able to do this. Otherwise, we're not going to get this continuous delivery.
And would it be fair to say of old you've put off doing major upgrades just because you're always a bit worried? So if I go back 5 or 6 years ago, you were in a really, really old version, and then the upgrade was, it took maybe 2 years of planning the upgrade, executive sign-off, everything had to be documented. So the upgrade process, cost-wise, people-wise, etc., was huge because you went from very old to something more recent. And that's the perpetuity you find yourself in. Unless the code is rock solid and you can just do an upgrade, you end up never upgrading.
Yeah, so it gets worse as you go along. Yeah.
There's somebody, Nige, do you want to shout in?
Yeah, hi, thanks. To the gentleman in the room, I don't know your name. I completely agree with everything you just said there. From banking, I work in the building society. We have differences, but we're, I think, the same kind of regulations and getting things signed off and planning these things out. And I can only repeat what you just said, really. I think I've just gone from 946 to 956. I'm going, hopefully, this weekend with 956 into my production environment. It's took me 2 years to get here. I've got signatures and signed off through CAB and everything. I don't believe Anita and the IBM community don't understand what big companies like we have to do to get to upgrade these things. It's generally, especially from the WAS to Liberty exercise, that was a huge step for us all. And the appreciation of you going for 10.2, releasing it in July 2023 and having two years and a bit end of service in 2025, to me is scary. If you ask the straw poll of the people just on this call, is that right from what we've been used to in the past? I would say, I would best to guess that it would probably be a negative than a positive. And yes, I know what you're saying from an IBM point of view, that you're doing all this development into the product. Ask the second question: who uses these new developments in the product? Most people just use it as a core product to make sure that it's a batch enterprise system and that we have our current systems in regulatory kind of support. So I personally think you're going too quick. I don't like it, as you can tell. I think this is a hot potato. I think this is an issue. And just because IBM have said this is the way, maybe in the real life, that's not the right way to do it at all. You should ask the users. So hopefully that's what I want to get over to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the feedback. So it's definitely for us to talk about internally.
First element of discussion I can see is that the number of years of support for one release. So I'm not saying we will do this, okay, because we need to discuss it and it's not my decision. But if we stayed on 10.2 for 5 years, then it would make not much difference to you.
I personally, from that, wouldn't go to 10.2. I'd go to 10.1 because of the service date finishing in 2027. I wouldn't even think of 10.2. That's what I would say, and that's what I would recommend to the people.
Yeah.
At YBS.
But what I'm saying is, you see there 2025 for 10.2. It's a formal statement, but we haven't decided how long it will last.
Well, it's up on the board. It's up on the board, and I disagree.
It's got the word planned there. It's not yet announced.
No, the
that's just the policy.
No. I mean, the point is that we need to decide based on your feedback how long it will last, because we need to switch from 10.2 to a 10.3 release when we will have major announcements that requires that. So changes in infrastructure, anything really big. Otherwise, we don't necessarily need to change. We can still continue to deliver on top of 10.2.
I think the problem is we've been beaten a few times.
Yeah.
Confidence in the quality of code is the it's making
That's the key.
So it's a history, right? Yeah.
I'm quite happy to go to this new idea if the code was quality.
The thing is consistent there, that we upgrade to a version, we find issues, and even if we plan to upgrade to a version, we generally don't go with that version because there are problems that we find in testing. We then have to go to another fix pack. There are problems with that one. We then go to the next one, and then we have to draw a line because we're going to run out of money. So we have to put that one in, but we know it's not where it needs to be, and that is perpetual. Every single time we get that. We've never had a release where we've gone, yep, that's brilliant, that's worked. It doesn't happen.
Okay.
And so for you guys to then release these every few months is we're just introducing more and more risk to the bank, given what this product does for us, with not necessarily any value that we're getting out of it. Yes, the new features and stuff are interesting, but as Nigel says, more often than not, what we're interested in is the core scheduler and improvements that you can make around that function, rather than all the itty bits that go around the side that you'll probably be releasing on the iterative versions.
Right. So just from what I'm listening to, it's just trying to figure out how to marry the two, right? To give you that core capability that keeps the lights on, right? Keeps you going, but steadily moving as opposed to maybe quickly moving, steadily moving. But how can you take advantage of those new features so that you can start integrating them in a risk-free way, I guess.
Yeah. I think just off the top of my head, if it was that the core of the system was always stable, if you're introducing new features around the side of that, but the core remains stable, if the new features don't work or they've got bugs in them, well, that's okay. We can carry on looking at those whilst we're doing the deployments. But when they impact the core product, that's when we've got the issue, and that's the issue we always have.
Right.
So,
Okay, we need to reflect on these feedbacks.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it.
We haven't decided. We moved to the continuous delivery model in the sense that we are we have these 3 new releases every year, modification levels, but we haven't decided the whole process, how long it will take to a new release. It's all based on feedback.
Yeah.
So we need to have a conversation on the upgrade process and what are the most. I understand that one of the most important problems is the quality.
Yeah.
But then there are also other things that slow down your upgrades. So okay. Ideally, this process our modification levels shouldn't be any different from a fixed pack. Ideally.
Yeah.
And as you can see, as you have seen from my presentation, the latest releases on 10.2, the new release, the contents that we deliver in a few months, in 3 months, are based limited. So that should help not to break anything in the next release. So let's see. You are still
they're non-believers.
You
can see in their face.
With the old model, and maybe we're struggling a little bit, but in theory, with the fixed packs that you're getting from fixed pack 3, from fixed pack 6, there were not so many new releases. I mean, new features. So the problem of the quality is also related to injection of problems and other things. It's not just the development of new releases. Okay, but anyway, I understand completely your point.
Okay. So what needs to be defined is what's core and what isn't. But isn't that already done as part of continuous delivery? Because you've got can't remember what it is. There's a four-letter acronym: release, maintenance. So where you've got 10.2.0.1, there's an acronym for each of those.
The version mod.
Yeah.
The modification level we are using for the new releases.
So with that, you could define any core changes are in a major release, and all the add-on pieces are in a minor release. And in that way, customers know that the core piece has not been touched.
But, certainly, we cannot change the infrastructure with a new release. Obviously, this doesn't mean that we are not forced to change, for example, the level of liberty, because that's something that we cannot help. If it's not supported anymore, or if there's breaches,
I don't think it's as Nigel said earlier. I don't think it's not an upgrade of Liberty. That's fairly easy to do.
Okay.
It was the upgrade. It was a migration from WebSphere to Liberty.
Yeah, but that's an infrastructure change.
Yeah.
We're not going to do any infrastructure change until we do at 10.3. So even between 10.1 and 10.3, there was just 1 year. 10.2, sorry, with all these numbers here.
but even there, Michael, the issue there is that when you do an infrastructure change, what you've changed here is 5+2 down to a 2+1. So if you're making an infrastructure change, we then don't have the time on the version that we might be on. We've only got 2 years on that. You then release another one, and you say, right, okay, this one's got a whole new infrastructure now, so we can't just do a continual delivery. We've now got to do a major core program, which could take us 2 to 3 years. So from the point that you say that, we are immediately going to be out of support. We know we're going to run out of runway, and we can't do anything about it with the current.
I mean,
no, that's fair feedback.
I think one of the major points I'm listening to is that the 2+1 model is too short for our product.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something we can be flexible about it, because it's not. I mean, that's the minimum, and it's like formal rule, but we can decide to make it longer. So we need to.
Yeah. So this has been good feedback, right? To hear all of the challenges that you have, and are there ways we can address them?
After all this, we prepare a big report for my management, because they need to understand that.
Proposed 2+1 didn't go well.
I kind of expected that.
Okay, there was a
Okay.
question from Tony on the chat, but Tony, do you want to ask your question or statement?
Yeah, it's basically to say from a flip side to that, finding new features, metrics, and insights into what we're currently doing and what we can offer is certainly something which we are interested in, mainly because the way other application teams are moving into cloud, bringing in a new technology and new sides of things, trying to keep things relevant in terms of offerings and what we can offer them means that we can stay relevant, because if we're not moving with them, we're essentially going to be considered legacy.
That's the challenge of how do you marry the two, and that's, I think it goes back to the core piece, keeping that steady, but being able to
You can sort of do that with the update with the job executors, I think. So you can keep current with the latest features.
Yeah.
I just upgraded your job executors to what the new
yeah,
features
so
are without upgrading your core infrastructure.
yeah, so it's,
Yeah, but then there are changes like the one on OpenSSL3. That's probably has an impact on you.
Oh yeah.
But we are also forced to do because OpenSSL1 was going out of support.
we
So
have
it's
HP,
trade-off.
we have Solaris coming up.
It's not
There's
easy
a couple.
even for us
Yeah,
to keep up with that. you know.
yeah.
Do you have any plans to change the underlying architecture to be cloud native rather than sort of traditional?
Okay, so we are in a way cloud native because we have we can be deployed on container, but we are not cloud native in the sense that we are not based on microservices. So for now, there is no plan to update the architecture on that.
But sufficient for you to run, because that's more of an internal optimization, I'll say, than something that you would see running on it. All right, lots of good feedback. Thank you. I appreciate the candid comments. It's really helpful because if people don't tell us, then we're in the cycle of not hearing it, right? So I appreciate that. That was all I was going to cover. I have the links in the chart, so if you get the charts, you can find it at the portals, how to query the information, what you get for your SNS and all that information. So hopefully I might be able to bring us back on time or not.
We're not that far